What he said. Okay, welcome to Stone Soup Poetry. We are joined for a regular all open mic. We'll probably do a double round robin tonight. For those who are interested, I want to thank everyone to come on such short notice. I wasn't able to put the information up before I left for my 4 day weekend. I took an extra day off for the camping in up in northern Maine. By all means, I should probably be in quarantine. I should probably still be up in Maine in quarantine there and back here in quarantine now, but somehow I made it through the state lines. Not necessarily bragging about that, just relieved. And hope everyone is doing well. I wasn't around when the first freedoms were lifted. I was expecting chaos and fire in the streets, but thankfully there was a city to return to. So thanks all of you for holding in there and hanging on, kindred spirits. We have the usual poetry for tonight from all the esteemed guests and some newer people, some people who've only recently joined the last couple of open mics, so that's nice too. And we're going to get started right away in my no particular order of the open mic. It's always a surprise who goes on first. Well, maybe not for this person because he's been an absolute first the last couple of weeks. Let us welcome the man who I call our orator extraordinaire, Mr. John Stern.
Hi, Chad.
Hello, John.
You know that Edgar Allan Poe wrote a poem, To One in Paradise.
Yes.
To which I append an epigraph from Colette. It is the image in the mind that links us to our lost treasures, but it is the loss that shapes the image, gathers the flowers, weaves the garland. Edgar Allan Poe, To One in Paradise. Thou wast that all to me, love, for which my soul did pine, a green isle in the sea, love, a fountain and a shrine, all wreathed with fairy fruits and flowers, and all the flowers were mine. Ah, dream too bright to last, ah, starry hope that didst arise, but to be overcast. A voice from out the future cries, on, but o'er the past dim gulf my spirit hovering lies, mute, motionless, aghast. For alas, alas, with me, the light of life is o'er. No more, no more, no more. Such language holds the solemn sea to the sands upon the shore. No more shall bloom the thunder-blasted tree or the stricken eagle soar. And all my days are trances, and all my nightly dreams are where thy dark eye glances, and where thy footstep gleams, in what ethereal dances, by what eternal streams. In his philosophy of composition, Poe wrote, beauty is the sole legitimate province of the poem. The death then of a beautiful woman is unquestionably the most poetical topic in the world. And equally it is beyond doubt that the lips best suited for such topic are those of a bereaved lover. And then he wrote Annabel Lee. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud by night, chilling my Annabel Lee, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we, and neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea shall ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And the stars never rise, but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so all the night tide I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea.
Thank you so much, John. I guess our only
Thank you,
request
Chad.
for next time you do this, you got to tilt your camera down a little bit, because all we can see is your forehead. It's like it's like the recitations of Kilroy. There we go. But
sorry about
I
that.
didn't want to interrupt you, but
Should have.
But
Should have right at the beginning. I could have started over.
it was. I didn't want. I so didn't want you to lose place, but I know how much work it is to recite. So, but thank you very much. Maybe you can stay for the second round of this round robin tonight.
I hope.
The next round robin roundhouser is Mr. David Miller.
Ooh, me? Okay. Okay. Well, I decided I think I'll just kind of unashamedly read you an old guy poem that I wrote about myself. It's titled, On Receiving My Second Non-Cancer Biopsy Result. The old-time acronyms, they ain't what they used to be. I remember when a 3-letter formula from my youth tokened public service announcement with all its bland good citizenship. If I were a different man, I'd thrive on its mutation to professional sports authenticator, but I'm not that man. And the innocent alphabeticals speak prostate-specific antigen right to my face. Whatever's going on in that obscure nook of my sunken anatomy, for a second time, elevated and rising PSA level didn't whisper about the thing with pincers. And what that means is my gratitude for this tall rattan-backed chair, a place to cradle my light head after I set down the phone, after my cheerful urologist signs off. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Another reminder, all these recordings, every recording so far, we've been lucky to save on my YouTube channel. You can just search for me, Chad Parinto YouTube, or Stone Soup Online Open Mic, and pretty much all of them are there. You can also get them through the live stream, where you sometimes can hear pre-show, what I call the pre-show bonus materials. Before I record for YouTube, I let the live stream run, and I think in this case, you actually caught me doing dialect. I actually left the mic on when I was talking to my girlfriend's daughter. She was out for she was going out for the night. So trying to push her to when she was going to produce a poem. And she said, when I write a good one. I'm like, oh, geez. All right. And I thought I was the self-effacing one. But on to the people who are here. Maybe I should join in on her cell phone later. Let's go to someone who's been waiting patiently and hopefully doing some delegation with hopefully potentially another phone participant. Jan Rowe, are you available right now?
Oh.
Hi.
Hi, Jan.
This is something that I had been looking for because it's a weekly from November of 2018, and they do stack up. This is by Devin Simon, who Chad remembers from his outrageous costumes to the church when I was there. This is a tale of stolen ketchup. And I don't mean taking a handful of ketchup packets from a store you didn't buy from, because that's not stealing, that's living. No, this is a tale of betrayal, desperation, and general popcockery. You see, my cousin was staying with us for 2 months when I was 10 years old. His school was around my house, so it was supposed to be okay, but he was really getting on my nerves. His name is Emilio. And Emilio had a way of always one-upping me. Let me explain. I had found something, a way to cook tater tots. See, I was only 10. I didn't even think of deep frying them. I didn't know about bacon them, but I was only 10 and couldn't use the stove, but the microwave. I could throw a small saucer of them in there for 6 minutes and be all good. So I was a genius until Emilio comes with his little saucer of tater tots and he put salt and pepper on them. On top of that, he was trying to rush my tater tots out of the microwave. Well, I would get him. I snuck off with the ketchup and put it outside under the mailbox. Then I rushed my bare feet back inside and knelt down at the window to secure my ketchup. Just then, a grown man stumbles upon my estranged ketchup, baffled. Emilio is over my shoulder asking for ketchup. I hated the way he fixed his eyebrows, so smug. But I had to stop the man. I opened the window and yelled, "That's our ketchup!" The man smiled, climbed into his friend's car, and drove off. Just then, my father comes out of his room, hungry for microwave tater tots. "Where's the ketchup?" he asked. We had to tell him it had been stolen. He was distraught. So someone's just busting up in my house, stealing ketchup? Thank you, Devin Simon.
Very good to you. Oh,
More often than not, I do wonder what happened to Devin, and hope he's still around and doing okay. Thanks for carrying his work on, Jan. And let's see, speaking of carrying on the work, let's welcome up next on the open mic, Mr. Chris Fitzgerald.
okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Sorry, yes. Yes.
This is called, and you thought Trump was a pisser. James Baker, Chief of Staff for President Ronald Reagan, tells the story of Reagan's first GA meeting. Baker leaves a group of papers for the president to read the night before the president's first meeting with European leaders, getting them up to the challenge of the world's problems. Next morning, Baker notices papers haven't been touched. "But Mr. President, you told me you were going to look at those papers." Jim, I was starting to. The Sound of Music was on. The hills are alive. Nancy loves the Sound of Music. Just say no to Nitwit Nancy. The Sound of Music. All I ever got out of that was a backhanded slap in the face of people living in the valley, walking around gloomy, morose, working 2, maybe 3 dead-end jobs, can't break into a hum, never mind a whistle, while the people in the hills sing and drink and dance and of course fornicating. They don't even think about getting up for work in the morning, except that one guy 9 years ago. All right, we've heard that story too many times. The Sound of fucking Music. I've always hated politicians who pit those two groups against each other, some short-term political game. Just say no to Nitwit Nancy. And the second piece, this is just a little offshoot I did once. Eugene O'Neill is America's foremost dramatic poet. I don't really give a shit about dramatic poetry anymore. They seem to have joined up with the novelists and have become bagmen for the camera people. Like I've said before, what has had the biggest chokehold on the human spirit hasn't been communism, capitalism, Zionism, Islamic fundamentalism, but the screen, movie, TV, computer, and now phone. The screen. And it isn't the Russians, the FBI, the NSA who have invaded your space, but you yourself who surrendered your privacy, your identity to NBC, T-Mobile, Microsoft, Paramount Pictures. The most creative being in this area of the world has come up with was Ralph Waldo Emerson. When he was on fire, there wasn't anything like it. He once wrote, "Life consists in what a man thinks about all day." That's what life is. We live life on the inside out, as any poet the last 3,000 years would tell you. We have this energy on the inside. When we release it as words. Even if you're deaf, it is people from thousands of years ago who shaped your awareness as words. I loved O'Neill, but didn't like the way we portrayed his parents on the stage. Didn't like the way he treated his children in real life. His big line was from The Iceman Cometh. The truth is irrelevant and immaterial. mankind exists on pipe dreams. But why'd he spend his life trying to deal with the truth? Who the fuck was he? A sensitive soul sharing a planet with a bunch of insensitive assholes? Poor you. They wanted to know the truth just as much as you. They just didn't have your access. And we know you probably would have shut the door if they got too close. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris.
You heard me all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good.
And now up next on the open mic, it's been great to have her join us on the online groups. Maybe we'll see each other live one day in the future. Hopefully we'll have more announcements coming up for live Stone Soup readings in the fall. But until then, let's enjoy our online company while we can. And welcome up Rita Rusty Rose.
Thank you. John, I loved your reading of Annabelle Lee, so I just changed it up and I'm going to read something I read to the children. So let's see. It's called Poe or Not to Poe. To Poe or not to Poe, is one Poe or Poeless? This I do not know. Did the raven fly nevermore, or is he still sitting on high evermore? This I do not know. Is Annabelle Lee in a sepulchre by the sea, or is she a ghostly sprite dancing the waters free, never to dissever? This I do not know. Is the pit a bottomless abyss with each pendulum swing, or has the weight been stilled in a yawn of granite going amiss? This I do not know. Could Fortunato remain chained inside a catacomb, haunting the Amontillado? Or has he cut his own hand to escape and is searching for his carpal bone? This I do not know. Does the telltale heart still wildly beat under a floorboard? And does the old man's vulture's filmy veiled eye of blue glare at you as above you take a seat? This I do not know. Is poetry an art form named for his name's sake, or is it simply the art of rhyme and verse? This I do not know, but Poe, perhaps I really do know. I know perhaps it is Edgar Allan Poe who has lent flavor to all forms of poetry and prose. I surely know, and know it I do. Poetry is Edgar Allan Poe, and Edgar Allan is poetry. This notion, one would say, is quite absurd, but absurdity is the human condition penned by Edgar Allan. And so I do intently know, I know most intently so, this I do savor with much favor, the astonishing works of the one I know, Sir Edgar Allan Poe.
Wow.
That's a
Love all
fun
those
piece. I haven't
references.
read it in about 2 years.
That was great.
I love when we can when the open micers play off each other. Thank you so much, Rita.
You're welcome.
What do we have next on here? Let's see. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to help unmute her. So now we welcome another one who's been here almost since the beginning. It's fantastic to have her on always. It's Miss Carol Weston.
Well, thank you. My poem is about Pilgrim State, the largest mental hospital in the world, and I worked there from 1959 to 62. Toilet paper floating in the trees, eyes looking out from behind bars. 1,000 people walking side by side, 2 by 2, silent in the early afternoon to the movies. The sunsets in Brentwood are like the paintings of Poussin, said Mr. Stander, the aristocratic patient. My friends think I am in Europe. I learned the Lord's Prayer at age 2, said the black, blind boxer. Jack Johnson never paid me back my $500. In the sewing shop, a woman with white powder on her face and rouge, who had danced professionally in New York City, pretended to fence with her knitting needle. The judge was there for trying to assassinate Thomas E. Dewey. He taught me that the ginkgo tree with cone-shaped leaves is a very ancient tree. One very gentle man who told me he spent the weekend with his best friend, a book, was there for murdering his wife. Will Inch, 7-foot-tall part Indian. We went through buildings 25 and 81 together with the library cart, singing, I ride an old paint, till the boss in occupational therapy looked up his criminal record. I go out to you on your bench on the grounds and burst into tears to tell you I could no longer work with you. Kirchen read for the patient poetry program, Time has a tinsel virtue, it ne'er lasts out the day. You sculpted from wood the Asclepian snakes of medicine and wore it around your neck. Henry, basket maker in the ceramics shop, you taught me not to cut a branch back, but let it die naturally. Check, who had a lobotomy, you wore fresh evergreen every morning in your lapel and brought forth 30 pots a day on the potter's wheel. Molly had a suitcase of poems that had been turned down by Poetry Magazine. I had to leave my work after 3 years at the hospital because I screamed under the pressure from my boss not telling me not to run a poetry program during work hours. When I left, Molly, who had this suitcase of poems, committed suicide. Toilet paper floating in the trees, eyes looking out from behind bars, 1,000 people walking side by side, 2 by 2, silent in the early afternoon to the movies. Thank you.
Hey, Carol.
Carol,
Oh,
that
was
is
fantastic,
beautiful,
Carol.
powerful, and oh, so painful.
Who is it?
John
John who?
Sturm.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for that poem. Beautiful, powerful.
And wow, we how do we top that? What we have? Oh, looks like we have more people coming in, which is great. We have Phil, aka Phil Curtis, aka Midnight, coming in. And for our next person on the list, we're going to welcome up. Hey, Phil. We're going to be welcoming up some of Carol, one of Carol's family, who's going to be who's actually joined us last week, and she's going to be joining us as much as she can, as long as we do these. and it's great for her to share her work. She actually did a work. She actually recited in French and English. So we're looking forward. We're looking forward to what she has next for us tonight. Let's welcome up Pamela Bullard.
So I've got something here from my cousin, my Dutch cousin. This is a translation of.
Did I skip something? I thought Pamela was going on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know what happened. Can you unmute yourself, Pam? Because I can't unmute you.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. I have a series of poems about my son, not finished yet because he's 22, but all of the many troubles and difficulties he's gotten himself into in his life. And this one is about probably, I'd say, 6 years old. This poem is about 6 years old. Now he's 22. It's called The Young Warrior. First part of the poem is called Part 1, Home from School. The young warrior returns home. Calmer, taller, browner, fiercer. Fiercer in his quiet way. Not as sharp around the edges. Some of the bravado has melted away, though sometimes he forgets and tells stories about his greatness which are not true. The warrior slips back into his bed. Wide and soft it welcomes him. After the spare pine bunk and the 7 uniforms in the drawer. He opens the door to his room and sighs, "It's good to be home." Tells the visitor like always, "Have you seen my room? It's purple." The room holds him safe now. Love comes from the familiar faces in the photos, and pride from the medals, trophies, certificates from senators from his glory days as a soccer player. The glory days are gone now. The athlete warrior turns 18. Hasn't played in so long, his time has been lost. No scholarships, no offers to join the teams will come his way. In their place are the horses, beings he has come to love, with a tenderness he'd never known he could feel. With them, he'll feel peace. Part 2, the horse whisperer. He whispers in an ear, "You're going to be okay, buddy," when they're panicked and sick, and the horses believe him. Their breathing slows and one nuzzles his cheek at the school where he learned it all. Oh, I'm missing something here. The horse walks beside Raphael. No reins are needed, no bodily contact. They walk as one, as if it's always been that way, around the obstacle course or through the fields. Today at Greenlock, Part 3. Today at the Therapeutic Riding Center in Mass, the children get off the bus from the special school. He can see it in their eyes. They're not like the others, locked in a world of their own. He approaches a small, shy boy and holds out his hand. "I'm Raphael," he says, and the boy takes his hand. Raphael leads him to his horse. The child reaches only to the stirrup, but is not afraid. Raphael stands for a moment, his face touching the horses, and then lifts the boy up and begins to lead him down the lane. The anxiety in the child's eyes slowly fades, and he feels just like any other boy on a shining horse moving slowly down a green lane like he was born to ride. The end.
Thank you very much, Pam. Love that. And we're going to go to, let's see if, Ethan, are you ready for a little musical interlude? We missed you last week.
Yes, I am.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, Ethan Mackler.
All right. So for this, I wanted to perform a number of improvised limericks, but they're all musical, not a word spoken. So hopefully you'll be able to make out the limerick, the rhythm of it, whatever, in musical form. This is it.
Great music.
Love that. Thank you so much, Ethan.
Thank you.
Before we get to the, we come to the finale of our round robin round one, I suppose. I guess Blackbird couldn't join us the whole time. Maybe she'll be back. Let's see. We haven't had someone back. We have someone back who we haven't heard from a long time. Let's see if Philip, are you interested in reading next?
I'm still at work.
Oh, damn.
That's why I'm not able to come through. I'm a workaholic. I'm so sorry.
Hey, we're just glad you're able to join us. So if you're just listening, that we get it. Haikus in the workplace can be a dangerous thing.
My door is closed. Nobody cares.
Okay.
Haikus. Let me think of a haiku real quick that I might have in the archives. This is rude, but hold on. Let me think. Sexy lingerie. Granddad tapped that flannel dress. 10 babies later. I'm sorry. I can't think of anything. Hopefully when you go through the next round, I'll have something ready.
We'll have round two, but thank you for your NSFW haiku. That was great. So we'll get you back to we'll get back in the second round. For now, we're going to finish off this round one with our signature closer. He is the man who has been signature closer for us live and online for a while. And he's the columnist behind Oddball Magazine's Thursday column, It's All One Thing. Read it every morning on Thursdays at 11 o'clock without fail. And let's welcome up Mr. James Van Looy.
Thank you. So
Hi, James.
Hi, guys. So I have a little piece here that's actually from my cousin's autobiography, and it's called Overall on Pinkstertag. And it's a translation, of course, from this Dutch story, and it's about the death of would be my great 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 grandmother. So here's how it goes. It's called Overall. Overall in Dutch is kind of like an emergency. So apparently something drastic happened to her very suddenly. It's also a robbery, okay? Grandmother Van Genderen, as Dor used to say, since she was also grandmother of Dornick too, had unexpectedly received a robbery and had not been able to stay at the house. Aunt Dan had then taken her in, put a cot in her spacious living room, and grandmother lay there as if in a white tent. Because of his stubborn love of painting, which made Koos say, he is almost useless, Jacob was now every Sunday afternoon church with Master Yulson in the atelier. He had first gone to hear from grandmother. Aunt Annika took care of him too. Then he sat at the grandmother's bed for a while, and she held his hand in her long hand and said goodbye to him. Koos had now left the house, was back of Den Hout with a family in relation to one of the regentesses at the Wieshouse orphanage. She couldn't have been there when grandmother arranged her housework. Hendrik had been there for Dor. He is son of his father for Koos. He had then also seen the uncle from Bergen am Zoom again, and for the first time the uncle from Utrecht, who was rich enough, but could never leave his business. Grandmother's last will had been for everything to be arranged in peace and friendship, to stay in the family. It was all ready, and a candle stood on grandmother's bedside table. Jacob had hardly ever seen grandmother wearing a nightcap. The family sat on the leather puckered canopy as long as the window was wide. Uncle Dan was in the corner where he usually sat, quietly wetting his razors on an oil stone, and Aunt Annika with the others at an oval table, knitting a stocking in the meantime, staring for a long time from her black eyes, although the needles kept going. Grandmother leaned into the whole pile of pillows, auctioning off everything herself, which she allowed the highest bidder. Hendrik had received the agate necklace and earrings for Dor, and he her glasses case in memory. Grandmother cashed in everything, saying, "Eenmaal, andermaal, one time, other time," until everything was settled to her satisfaction. Grandmother's voice was not so weak then, and she did not sigh so often. Grandmother was deep in her 80s. Grootmoeder was deep in the tactic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, James. And I guess we will head back to start, but it's a good thing. Just means we start over with the same round robin participants. I think we're all here unfortunately, except for Blackbird. But everyone who participated in the first round is here to participate in the second one. So let's welcome up next, or first, I should say, for second round. Anyway, Mr. John Stern, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Chad. Can you see me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, John, may I just make a suggestion? Could you move your camera down a little further even, because you are just ahead. That's good. Well,
Okay.
wait. Well, a little further. It went back up.
How's this? Is that better, Ethan?
Yeah, a little from now, I guess. But it is better than before, yes.
Eugene Field, The Duel. The gingham dog and the calico cat side by side on the table sat. 'Twas 12:30, and what do you think? Nor one nor t'other had slept a wink. The old Dutch clock and the Chinese plate appeared to know as sure as fate there was going to be a terrible spat. Yeah, I wasn't there. I simply state what was told to me by the Chinese plate. The gingham dog went bow, wow, wow, and the calico cat replied, meow. The air was littered an hour or so with shreds of gingham and calico, while the old Dutch clock in the chimney place put up his hands before his face, for he always dreaded a family row. Now mind, I'm only telling you what the old Dutch clock has sworn is true. The Chinese plate looked very blue and wailed, oh dear, what shall we do? The gingham dog and the calico cat wallowed this way and tumbled that, employing every tooth and claw in the awfulest way you ever saw. And oh, how the gingham and calico flew. Parento, don't fancy I exaggerate. I got my news from the Chinese plate. Zoom hosts, sheesh. Next morning, where the two had sat, they found no trace of dog or cat. And some folk think unto this day that burglars stole that pair away. But the truth about the cat and pup is this: they ate each other up. Now, what do you really think of that? The old Dutch clock, it told me so, and that is how I came to know. Police who came from Scotland Yard interrogated me so hard that I finally did confess I'd made up the whole darn mess. They didn't eat each other up. It was I who stole the cat and pup. Now life and reputation marred, here I sit in the county jail. Oh, David and James, please send me bail.
That's great.
Bravo, Mr. Sturm.
Thank you, Chad.
Thank you very much. And going back to the round two list, we come back to Mr. David Miller.
All righty. So this poem is titled Self-Portrait, and it's in two sections, right eye and left eye. So self-portrait, right eye. Tiny lightning scar, a flesh dent exactly at this one's outer canthus. At 5, I chased my brother around the piano bench, giggling little boy hysterics sliced short with slip and smash against a sharp corner. Only those closest to me have seen my gash. I shudder in stray moments with my terrified parents whose first child just barely didn't lose his eye, wasn't on his back with a bloody socket. Left eye. The lid droops to match my father's. My lopsided gaze shot back from his late life studio portrait, a holiday surprise from the widower to his sons. His smile so tight, stretched, clenched full of teeth, horrible rictus below half shut. I thought, oh Dad, oh dear, you didn't have to do that. It centered on the piano lid until his death, sheet music propped to wall away that grin behind the glass, his dropped lid answering mine. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. Oh, got joined by somebody else. That's awesome. So we'll get to her at the end. Okay, sorry, moving on, getting organized. And let's bring back next. Jan, are you ready to go again? Something else from the pile? Whoops, I might have muted you by accident. Might have muted you by accident, Jan. I muted you.
I will unmute.
There we go.
This is from the Black Seed Writers, something I'm working on in May. Some of you may remember the song or the tune, That's Entertainment. That's Entertainment. Well, this is called That's Regulation, sung to the tune of That's Entertainment. With the Trump administration, I was suddenly not allowed by age to invest in socially responsible funds. Don't you know that's not the time for it? That's regulation? Under the same administration, banks declining to lend to fossil fuels drilling were fined. Forced banks to fund fossil failures. That's regulation? Chicken corporations, foreign hog farms, online toxic waste lagoons, come on in. Deregulation. Trump's first law allowed mountaintop removal to dump into and destroy mountain streams, flood and pollute. Psst, putting it elsewhere would have created more jobs. Deregulation. Some want interest rates capped at the usurious 30-some%. The oligarchs and their politicians and the payday lenders want to allow 300-some%. And Trump sued Deutsche Bank for predatory lending. Deregulation. Thank you. I'm working on it.
Deregulation.
There you go. There you go. Thank you so much, Jan. Let's move on to, he's still with us. I'm asking you to unmute yourself, Mr. Chris Fitzgerald.
All right, just one poem. This is a love poem. Yeats wrote, "Rhetoric is your argument with other people. Poetry is the argument with yourself." This is called Love, the Beginner's Manual, page 16. I think. I remember the first time you told me that you loved me. It was down the island. I guess I looked somewhat surprised because you suddenly qualified it by saying it was easy for you to say that. You told your children that every day. It wasn't easy for me to say that. But when I did start telling you that I loved you, the love I was talking about was as grand and as magnificent as anything in the universe. Not this wimpy, wishy-washy love that collapses or retreats every time a problem appears that you seem to prefer. I'm only kidding, babe. You can love just as well, if not so much better than I. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. We heard you loud and clear.
Good.
And let me, there we go. And now we're going to move on to the next person on the open mic. Let's go back to Rita Rusty Rose.
Okay, this is Price of Success for Lee Israel. Can you ever forgive her alcoholism, lesbianism, New York Times best-selling authorism? Can you forgive agents who refused to return her calls, who did not offer contracts at all, or listen to anything Miss Israel had to say, who failed to give her the time of day, that claimed her apt writing style was passé? Can you forgive a lesbian manumit to the word, penning famous puns as if overheard, who to survive assumed the life of a forger? Alcohol politely delayed this woman's departure. And Simon and Schuster published felonious memoir. Raise a toast to this dyke literate with the sidecar. Can you ever forgive me is the title of a brilliant repent. The intense book reads as if for screen treatment. New York Times lauds her achievement, and Lee herself would chuckle in post-death highbrow as her cremated soul takes a collective bow. Can you forgive this writer who fell on hard times, who claimed no other skill, therefore turned to crime? Her story is a tale of woe, a read must. Can you forgive her? If not, as Lee may have said, bite my mother effing departed gin-soaked dust.
And enough said.
Thank you.
Awesome. Let's move on to Carol Weston. I think that was the most epic long poem that you've read during an open mic. Do you have possibly one more? Let me unmute you. And in 10 seconds, less than 5 seconds, you can answer. Whoops. Oh, wait a second, Carol. You're not muted yet. There you go.
Okay. This poem is to Linda Crane, Zen Buddhist and leader of shamanic journeys. Linda, on your 23rd birthday, you threatened to pull the telephone out of the wall, and you put your foot into your birthday cake. At 46, with cancer unknown in your body, you crawled across the floor inside a bear skin. The bear, your power animal. Your shamanic journeys touched 1,000 lives. The deer of your being danced through the wolves of your death. Thank you.
Hey, Carol.
Carol, thank you very much, Carol. And we're gonna move now back to Pamela Bullard, who I hope is still with us. Oh, she might have stepped away for a second. Oh, there she is. You just have to unmute yourself again, Pam, and if you want to read, definitely do so.
Yes, I didn't have another poem though, so I'm just listening.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much. And thanks for staying on. Okay, then let us get to Mr. Ethan Mackler if he has anything else. If you don't, that's fine. Nope. Okay. So then we'll go back to, who do we have? Yes. Philip, do you have one more slightly inappropriate haiku for us?
Oh no, Chad, I said I did have one.
Oh, you did. Sorry.
But if Philip wants to go first, that's fine.
I think he might be deferring to you.
All right. Okay. This is okay. This is a tribute piece to a professional wrestler from long ago who was called Beatnik Zabio. Born on April 14th, 1919 in Italy, the name Anthony Cosenza might not seem like much to you, but in 1959 and 1960 he was known to the world in the ring as Beatnik Zabio. Beatnik Zabio, Zabio the Beatnik, Zabio the Great, all his monikers. But hailing from Greenwich Village, of course, as he was introduced, all I've been able to dig up is 4 wins, 2 losses, and 3 draws. No known pictures are known to exist of Beatnik Zabio, perhaps somewhere in an old newspaper in Toronto, Cleveland, or Rochester. From the Rochester War Memorial Auditorium, Maple Leaf Gardens, and the Cleveland Arena is where Beatnik Zabio took his stance. Alas, the memory of Beatnik Zabio is confined to the dustbin of history, for now at least. We can only use our imaginations to picture the majesty of what Beatnik Zabio was. But perhaps, being the artsy type that Beatnik Zabio was, he would have wanted it that way. Thanks, Chad.
Thank you, Ethan. And looks like we were going to hear from ES, but she had to duck out so quickly. So I feel bad when everyone has to duck out. But let's go up to Mr. Phil, or Phil, aka Midnight. And if you have something for us, please share.
Yeah, let's go. I'm gonna go with 3 haikus, then a poem, okay? Flowers, cards, candy. Just another cover up. Still a battered wife. Next haiku. McDonald's, Wendy's, take away the S in fast. It becomes fat food. Face the uncertain. Look a challenge in the eye. Step back, stare, and wink. And now a poem. You ever wanted to visit a place you heard of, not quite sure of, never been to, told about by a friend or two? Yelp review, where your feedback is welcomed. So I'm inviting you onto the Elizabeths, sailing from Jamaica to West Africa. Opportunity for an extended trip, as it lasted from 1525 to 1866. Where millions of Africans were taken from their homeland, forcefully transported across the Atlantic, vessels built to carry masses of people, well equipped with netting and ships for convenience. So those that would have opted for death versus enslavement could still be recaptured. I wonder if these words sicken your stomach, stuffed in compartments, all aboard, with no sanitary facilities. Relieve yourself where you sit. Combine that with heat, lack of ventilation, stink, and sick. Cat o' nine tails, tools used to inflict pain, weapons mounted on deck in case of rebellion. And the women were left unshackled to be sexually abused by members of the crew. Yelp review. Real people, real reviews. Welcome to Adventure Plantation in Farnsdale, Alabama. Black queens arriving in this strange new world carrying the children of their attackers, where missionaries were brought to teach Christianity, a message tailored to justify slavery. Twisting biblically, slaves, be obedient to your human masters with fear and trembling, not only when they are watching. So they kept praying, sang songs with coded meanings, messages of hope and visions of escape. Roll, Jordan, roll, oh, roll, Jordan, roll. A river that would flow. Rivers you cross perhaps to a better place. No more lashes. Sing a song that set slaves free. Songs reflecting this institution of slavery. Bended knees, aching, body racked with pain. A slave had to sing. Better for beaten for their skin without twinge or hint of guilt. How this country was built. Yelp review. Let your customers advertise you. Sugar-coated on TV screen, stories omitted in classroom. What our forefathers went through. Yelp review. The stories that they sold but never really told you.
Thank you so much, Phil. Glad you could join us. Much appreciated. And now,
Hard to know what to say to that.
yeah, definitely. Oof. And now we come to the closer for the second and final round, our final reader for tonight, Mr. James Van Looy.
So I've got a little short poem here myself. It's basically a haiku, 17 syllables anyway. And it goes simply, pandemic is portal. Breathe life into dry bones. After apocalypse is life. And I've got a song here for you, which is called Moje Pinkster Tag. Appa moje Pinkster Tag, als je even kan. Lika met je dokter, met je handje en de parakeet, de koieren in de zon. Ginge maar verlies de boekes, Angeles Furlen, Angelo's. Keep not top, je jurt wordt na, je handjes vol en papa boos. Vader was a mooie held. Father was the boss. Father was a doodle-lick, a mengeling van onze lieve Heer en Sinterklaas. Ben je bang voor Hunji, Hanji, bijt niet. Papa zei dat hij niet bijt. Op een mooie Pinkstertag met de kleine mee. Als het kindje groter wordt, Rosie in de nacht. Zo je teken alle grote jonkers willen zeker hand de thuis en lazer op. Heb je dat nu ook, meneer? Jawel, meneer, precies als iedereen. Op een mooie Pinkstertag, wat ze hier alleen. Morgen kan je zwanger zijn, kan het nog vandaag. Contrabanders in of a Franse zanger of a iemand op de Haag. Vader kan smekken en kan prikken tot hij purper ziet. Vader zegt, pas op mijn kind, dat handje bijt, she luistert niet. Vader is een hypocriet, vader is a lol. Father is an enkel en alleen maar voor de center en de rest is fucking well. Ik moet ik nog een keer met mijn dokter aan het handje lopen kan. Op een mooie Pinkstertag, samen in de zon. Op een mooie Pinkstertag, samen in de zon. Samen in the sun.
Thank you so much, James, and thanks to closing out tonight's all open mic. I do have a couple things to make announcements on. Well, hopefully we'll have. I guess the new free speech forum with CCS Chagra is going to be coming soon, if not this weekend, the following. I'm going to post some information on his behalf because he's been really trying to push this. More importantly, the Roxbury Poetry Festival is going on this weekend, as created by the current poet laureate of Boston, Portia Oyaole. She has been working very hard to make this event. I think she wanted to do this last year, but could not because, COVID. So she's doing it again. And it's going to be a fantastic event. And I'll be posting information for that as well. I don't know if I'm going to be able to attend myself. I'm not involved in it in any way, except hopefully as an observer. But I hope you guys help and support this wonderful poet who is a past Stone Street poet and has been a very hard-working poet laureate for the city. And with that, it's a quiet night. I need dinner and I need sleep. I'm so glad I got a dose of poetry to get myself assimilated back to city and to the city and back to the working week. What little I have left of it this week, and I thank all of you guys for doing that. Obligatory wave time as we do a nice little screenshot for everyone. See, even Pamela knows the wave. Wave. There we go. And stop. There we go. And thank you guys very much. And we will see you next time. Hopefully in the next 24 hours, there'll be more announcements. Laura Kiesel is hopefully featuring for us, a poet journalist, writingforsurvival.com. She wasn't able to read for us next week, but she is hopefully going to in July. So stay tuned. We're going to keep as active as we possibly can leading up to what will hopefully be our first meetup in September. And I hope all of you can be part of it in one way or another. So thank you guys very much. Enjoy your evening. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. The show's over. We see you next time.
Thank you, Chad.
Thank you,
guys.
Chad.
Thanks,
Night.
Chad.
See ya.